Y'all would, let's give him a hand.
Good morning. Morning. My name's Coach Micheal Burt. Hope everybody's doing good. I spent a decade of my life, no you don't, as a head women's basketball coach at Riverdale. And he mentioned the word motivation. Anybody know what that definition of motivation means? Because a lot of people introduce me as a motivational speaker, and I do think my message is motivational in nature. But what I really do is bring strategy, systems, and help elevate a person from here to there. So when you think about motivation, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Pushing.
Okay, pushing from an external person. Okay, how many people think that they will push themselves hard enough without the help of another person? You see, this morning I was in the gym at 5:30, and I have this guy that coaches me because I know, left to my own devices, I won't push myself that hard. I know what my workouts look like on my own, and I know what they look like with him. Does that make sense? And the fact that I pay for it makes me work a little bit harder. Why do we lose motivation? Motivation, the word motivation means to move, right? It means to move. The word inspire means to breathe life into. So when you think about, I see a lot of people get inspired, but it's kind of like cotton candy. Tastes good for a minute and it goes away. You with me here? So when it comes to motivation, why do we lose it? Why do we lose it? I'm sure there's been some days you wake up and you're like, man, do I really have to do this again today? You ever woke up like that? Do I really have to go out and exert this energy? What if I told you there's some days that I wake up and feel that way? Do I really have to go motivate this group? Do I really have to write this book? Do I really, right? So here's one thing I would tell you. Just because feelings are real, that don't make them right. The difference between an amateur and a professional is a professional doesn't listen to their feelings. A professional just shows up every day and they fight through their feelings. You understand what I'm saying? And so I want you to think of yourself today as the reason we lose motivation is because if you eat banana pudding every day for 10 years, you'll eventually get tired of eating it, don't you? Now think about this. You see, I retired from coaching at 31 years old at the peak of my career. I had just won a championship. I was en route to building a dynasty. Riverdale has now won 6 of the last 8 state championships. I was just going to continue to win and win and win, and I walked away at 31 and retired. I had benefits, insurance. I was the second highest paid coach in the state of Tennessee. And I was bored because I knew what my real potential was. I knew I was playing at this level, and I knew I had this level in me. You understand what I'm saying here? So I want you to think, and if you read this book, this is my newest book out, number 12, and it was a bestseller on Amazon. And I talk about the real problem that people have is that we're all in one of 3 states in our lives. We are either dynamic and growing. That means we're alive, vibrant, energetic, on fire, interested in our own potential. We are static and plateaued, or we are entropic. Now I want you to think about that second one. Dynamic, I'm growing. I'm alive. I got energy. I'm ready to go. Static, I'm stuck. I'm bored. I'm stale. I'm in a rut. Anybody ever felt that way before? Right? And then there's entropic, disintegration. My grandfather worked his whole life with his hands. He built houses. He owned his own cabinet shop. He sold cattle. He became a millionaire the old-fashioned way. Live below your means. Wear a cheap suit. Drive a cheap car. Hard worker. And he was dynamic. And then he retired. Because see, in America, we're kind of sold this bill of goods that we work until we do what? Retire. You know, the government created that concept of retirement. They're not very good at creating a lot of concepts. But my grandfather went from working every day with his hands, being engaged, and my mother told me the day your grandfather retired from working, the very next day his health went downhill. His mind went downhill, his body went downhill, his health went downhill. He skipped the middle stage. He was dynamic, and then he just went entropic. And we were spending about $10,000 a month at the end of his life for him to have care 24 hours a day. Do you know how fast you run through money when you're spending $10,000 a month to take care of you? Now, what's the lesson there? The lesson is we think we're going to work our whole life so we can check out. But when we don't have anything to look forward to, when we don't have anything to get up in the morning for, when we don't have anything to go to, see, he didn't have anything to push. He didn't have any houses to build. He didn't have any customers to serve. So he actually just skipped that middle stage and went straight to an entropic state. And then he died. Joe Paterno at Penn State was still coaching at 84 years old. And then they fired him at Penn State and he was dead in less than 6 months. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because of this. What I'm going to try to spend my time today doing is doing what a good coach will do for you, which is challenge you in a way to get you to think about your own potential. Try to get you to another state. If you've lost it, burned out, mechanical, bored, stuck, in a rut, what I'm going to try to do is get you swag back. Right? Because I think if you have a good coach in your life, and just coincidentally, how many of you have ever had a good coach at some point in your life? Anybody? Okay. Now, when you had that good coach, let me ask you this question. Was it not true that when you had that good coach, you experienced some of the most growth you've ever had in your life? I want you to think about this. A few weeks ago, I was in somewhere up north, and I was speaking to a group of air conditioning technicians, like a Roscoe Brown. They go out and fix air conditioning units. And a guy sat in the back and cried through my entire presentation. Grown man, 47 years old, all tough guys like you, and he just bawled. I was like, man, did I say something wrong? So afterward, he came up to me and he said, Coach, he said, when I was 17 years old, I had an unbelievable coach that pushed me and challenged me and believed in me and affirmed me. And he said, I haven't had somebody like that in my life for the last 30 years. He said, in just an hour, you took me back to what it's like to have a great coach. He said, because to be honest with you, I'm not even close to my potential. And it touched him emotionally. So a good coach will do 3 things for you. They'll have conversations with you you don't want to have. They'll make you do some things you don't want to do, but they'll help you become something you didn't think you could become. So what happens is we grow, and then we become adults, and then we don't have any coaching. So we stagnate. Everybody see that? We stagnate. This morning, that trainer that was working me out was one of my coaches. I have business coaches that are coaching me right now. I have people that are pushing me and challenging me to reach my potential. But what I see a lot of people do is they get to that point and they move there. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about this journey. I grew up in the town of Woodbury, Tennessee. Everybody know where Woodbury is? Okay. London, Rome, Paris, Woodbury. Y'all know where that is, right? And a small town. I was raised by a single mother. She had me when she was 16 years old. And I watched that woman scratch and claw for everything she ever had. So people ask me today, everywhere I go, where did you get your work ethic from? Why do you come early? Why do you stay late? And I said, man, I watched my mother scratch and claw for everything we ever had. Everything. And I saw her work 2 jobs, 3 jobs. And my mom would drop me off at the ball field when she went to work her second job. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but that was a very cheap babysitting service. She didn't have money to pay babysitter. So she took me down to the local ball field, and those coaches watched after me. And as early as 6 years old, I had a female coach named Mickey Vincent said, son, one of these days you're going to be a great coach. She saw something in me. How many of you have children and you see something in them right now that they don't even see? You see their potential, but they can't see it. Like I have a 4-year-old daughter, I see things she's already talented at, but she can't see it. Well, 6 years old, Mickey Vincent said, son, one of these days you're going to be a great coach. And I went back and asked her many years later, after I started winning a lot, I said, now, how did you know? She said, you're always answering all the questions. You're always the first one to come, the last one to leave. And she said, you were always just so interested in your potential. And so at 6 years old, I'm already coaching. 15 years old, I got a Little League baseball coach, asked me to help him coach a junior pro basketball team. And he said, son, I don't know anything about coaching this team. Will you help me coach this junior pro team? And I said, sure, man. I'm a little point guard at the local high school. And I said, man, I'd love to coach this team. And I started coaching junior pro basketball at 15. And I was so passionate. Now, I want to use that word, unpack that word. Irresistible belief or motive or action. It's what drives your engine. It's what rows your boat. It's what gets you excited. It's what you talk about for days. Here's the problem. Most people get their passion off the job. So they go to work, and they grind it out, and then they go do what they love off the job. What's the problem with that model? Average person will spend 35 to 50 years of their life working. I want you to think about that. the largest percentage of, think about these numbers. Average person will spend 23 years of their life sleeping. 9.5 years in their car. 6 years eating. I think that was a little low personally, right? 5 to 15 years in some form of religious activity. 15 to 25 years in education or training. And here's the kicker, between 35 to 50 years of their life, what? Working. So when I hear a person say, I hate my job, I don't enjoy my job, I despise my job, it's hump day, thank God it's Friday, I'm sitting there going, man, you're going to spend a lot of your life being miserable if that's your mindset on work. And a lot of us were raised to despise work. It's a necessary evil. Pays the bills, put food on the table. And I made up my mind very early, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to make up my mind I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the people I do it with because I'm going to spend that much of my life, right? At the end of our lives, most of us will be remembered through our work. They'll remember us through our work. Okay? So at 15, when he asked me to coach that team, I said, I'm in, man. And I was so passionate about coaching. It's like, man, this is what I was supposed to do. And I tell people I was so excited about coaching, I got ejected from a junior pro basketball game. I got 3 technical fouls. And I got a standing ovation on the way out. And not because they liked me, but because they didn't like me. They was like, who is this kid? And he's so passionate. And, you know, I didn't know how to contain my passion. You know, it was just coming out of me. And so at 18 years old, I went back to my elementary school and I said, I would like to be the head boys basketball coach at this school. And they said, you're just a kid. I said, don't matter. I got conviction. I'm passionate. I can handle this. And I went back 14 straight days. They told me no. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. Finally, 14 days, I said, you don't have a coach. You got a team. Put an adult with me. Let me coach this team, right? And he finally said yes. And I coached at Woodbury Grammar when I was 18 years old. And the very first year, we won a state championship. And the principal came to me at the end of the year and said, son, you did such a great job coaching this year. We think we would like to pay you. Now, anytime you feel bad about how much money you make, I want you to remember this, okay? I said, well, how much are you going to, I didn't know I was going to get paid. I said, how much are you going to pay me? He said, $199.50 for the year. All right? So my first job was making $199.50. But here's what I thought. Every day in my current role is an interview for my next role. People are watching. They're evaluating. They're critiquing. So I wear a suit. I coach that little team. And at 19 years old, I get a call from the head coach of Riverdale. Y'all know what I mean? Riverdale graduates in the room? Okay. Good. All right. I knew I liked you when I walked in. And you smile a lot. I like that too. And then so I get a call on his phone. I'm just this little country boy from Woodbury. I don't know nothing. And I get this phone call and said, this is Keith Short from Riverdale High School. He said, I've been watching you, son, and man, you're just this young little whippersnapper that can flat out coach. Would you come to Riverdale and be one of my assistant coaches? And I asked what any good 19-year-old would ask, which is what? How much are you going to pay me? And listen, these words actually came out of my mouth. I'm embarrassed to say it today. I said, I'm already making $199.50. I mean, you may not even be able to afford me. He laughed like you did. And he said, son, we're going to pay you $2,000. And I said, $2,000, man, I will be there tonight, right? That's a 10 times increase in my income. And so this is what's funny about small towns. Every person in a small town tried to get me not to take the job. I bet I got 10, 15, 20 phone calls. You can't go. You got to stay in Woodbury. You can't leave us. One of them said this, you're not going down there, are you? You're liable to get shot in Murfreesboro. I'm like, I ain't going to New York City. I'm going to Murfreesboro. I eventually wrote a book called Small Towns and Big Dreams because I got so sick of people saying they couldn't do something big from a small town. But I heard all of this, pulling me back. Now I've gone back to do some things in my small town. Went up there and opened a business up there that I'll talk about later. Now I'm giving back to my small town. And my business has given me the ability to go back and do that. But my point is, at that time, if I would have listened to all the people talk me out of that dream, I just think about where I would be today. Does that make sense? Okay, when other people give you advice, number one, you need to be very careful about the counsel you're getting and what type of demonstrated capacity they've had in their life to do something, right? Before you get counsel and advice for them. Because some of them, it's saying more about them than it is about you. Like when people are negative to me now, it says more about them than it is about them and their dreams than it does about me. Does that make you follow me here? They're not being negative toward me. They're being negative because they didn't pursue something in their life that they should have pursued. And so 19, I come to Riverdale. I'm in this big city, and I'm the coach, and I go to college at MTSU. And here's what I'm doing. I made up my mind that was going to be my full-time job. So I went to college at 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I went straight to Riverdale at 11. And I stayed at Riverdale. until the head coach left. He stayed at 11 o'clock, I stayed at 11:15. He stayed at 12 o'clock, I stayed at 12:15. I got his bags, I drove the bus, I coached the team, I mopped the floors, everything, whatever he needed me to do, I did it, because behind every great number one is a great number two. And I watched it, and I studied, and I said, one of these days I want to be the head coach. And so at 22 years old, he retires, and he said, I'm not retiring unless this little guy right here replaces me, and I get this big job at Riverdale at 22 years old. And at that time, I was the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee. Well, at the second largest high school in Tennessee. And here's what I heard. It's a football school. It's a football school. It's a football school. You're never going to win a girls' basketball championship at this school. It's a football school. I bet I heard it thousands of times. Give it up. Go somewhere else. You never turn it around. And I started coaching that team, and I started saying, we will win a championship here. I don't know when. See, I can't tell you when you're going to reach your goals in life. But I can tell you, if you have a long obedience in the same direction, something good's going to happen. You follow me here? I can tell you, when you have a long obedience in the same direction and not give up on it, that something big's going to happen. And so at 25 years old, I've been coaching now for how many years? When did I start? 15. Now I'm in Riverdale, I'm at 25, I've been coaching for 10 years. And I said, man, I ought to write a book, because there's a lot of things I had to learn the hard way. And I wrote a little book called Changing Lives Through Coaching, because I believe a good coach can change your life. Now, here's what's interesting, and this is where you come into the story. Is mamas and daddies would drop their daughters off to me, and if you have a kid, they would drop their daughters off to me, and they all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter's got a lot of what? Potential. Every now and then they said issues, and they were right about that too. They said, Coach, here's my daughter, and she's got a lot of potential. She just needs something. What do you think they said she needed? Structure, focus, discipline, accountability. Here's the biggest thing they said, confidence. Right? And I'd say, thank goodness you brought your daughter to us, because we specialize in activating all those things. They said, Coach, she just needs a good coach. But here's what I would say that would really get them. This is one that would get all of us. Gets me on some days too. I would say, have you told your daughter she has a lot of potential? Yes, sir. And I said, I got to ask you a tough question that you ain't going to want to answer. And they'd say, what is it? I said, is your daughter watching you reach your potential? And I'd get them. They go, gosh, Coach, I didn't know you was going to coach me. Isn't it true that my 4-year-old daughter needs to see her father reaching his potential? Yes or no? She needs to see me dreaming and striving and pushing and hustling. She needs to see it. She don't need me to talk at her and say, sweetheart, you have all this potential. She needs to watch me every day work toward my dreams. You follow me? She needs to see it. Just like I watch my mother scratch and claw for everything. And so they would go, man, I'm not reaching my potential. Because is it true that it's not just kids that have potential, right or wrong? I know I talk to people every day, and they say, Coach, you're doing all these things. And I said, man, I ain't even close to my potential. I'm still playing at such a small level, I ain't even close to what I could do. So when I wrote that book, companies started to call me, just like your company. And they started to say this, Coach, we got a lot of good people. And they all got a lot of what? Issues. Y'all missed that part, right? They got a lot of issues. No, they said they got a lot of potential. They just need what? Structure, discipline, count. You ever see what I'm saying? They needed the same thing the kids do. So I want you to think about this. And so I began coaching I began going out there speaking. So I'm coaching in Riverdale. And now I'm getting asked to speak all over the place. So I go down and speak at Dell Computers one day, and I'm speaking down there on my little book, Changing Lives Through Coaching, to the managers, and I get finished, and the guy says, here's your check for coming to speak. And I'm like, you gonna pay me to come speak to your team? On the same things I'm teaching my players? Oh yeah. This is Dell. This is one of the biggest companies in the world. And he said, will you come back? And I'm like, no, I'm not interested in coaching kids. I appreciate it. Thanks for buying my book, but I'm not interested in coaching adults at all. I love coaching these kids, and we're going to win a championship. So thanks for inviting me. And he was like, no, we really enjoyed it. Come back. And I'm like, no, man, you didn't hear me. I'm not interested. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for buying my book, but I really want to coach these kids to a championship, okay? And then he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a check. And I looked at it, and it was more in an hour than I made it a whole month of coaching. And you know what I said then? I'll be back every 15 minutes. You need me to come back and motivate the night crew? I'll motivate the night crew, man. And I really started to figure out, man, everything I was doing over here was relevant over here in this world. It's relevant in the business world because adults need motivation and structure and coaching and guidance and energy. We need it just like the kids did, right? So I began to get all these requests to speak all over the country. One book turned into two turned into 12 now. And so the more I spoke, the more people asked me to coach their team, their business. And then I said, now I got a problem. And my problem is I can either stay at Riverdale and keep winning championships, or I can go over here and start a coaching business and coach adults. So at 31 years old, after I won a championship, I walked in one day and said, I'm retiring because I no longer want to do this. And people couldn't figure it out. The number one question I get asked anywhere is, do you miss coaching? Guys, I worked 80 hours a week for 12 straight years. I didn't see my family. I didn't see my friends. I didn't get married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have anything but that. I worked 8 hours a day on Sunday. I'd get up and go to church on Sunday morning, and I'd go straight to the gym. I was totally obsessed and focused in one area of my life to produce what we produced. And at 31, what did I say? When you eat banana pudding every day for 10 years, you eventually get tired of eating. I was so exhausted and in such a mechanical and burnout mode. See, burnout means you lose all joy or passion for what you do. Does that make sense? And although we were having all this success externally, and I had done what I set out to do. See, when we study the laws of sowing and reaping, we actually think the harvest is when we throw our feet up in there, right? But if you know anything about farming, harvest is the busiest time, isn't it? That corn don't pick itself. So I had sown, and then we were reaping the harvest. And now we were winning like crazy. And now everywhere I went, people knew who I was. And now we were winning. But man, I was emotionally dead. I was alive, but I was dead. And so I walked in one day and said, man, I'm out. I need to go do something bigger. And I'm tired, and I'm bored. And I started my coaching business. Now, when I went out and started my coaching business, I began to work with all types of people. Blue collar, white collar. I worked in the prison system for 4 years rehabilitating offenders. Going and trying to get a person to turn their life around. We spend $100,000 a year on every prisoner in the state of Tennessee. Did you know that? We spend double the amount on prisons than we do on education. And you know who pays for it? We do. So I went into the prison systems. They took my books and tried to rehabilitate the offenders. And that was a game changer for me. Because I would go into a prison cell of a person that was in jail for 30 years, and they'd have all my stuff up there on the prison cell. All my books, all my literature. They were reading it, and they said, when I get out, Coach, here's what I want to do. And so I worked with every type of person you can imagine. Sawmills, blue collar, white collar, prison system. And I figured out a couple things along the way. When it comes to this challenge of motivation, here's what I found out. We all have a desire to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We all want to be part of something that matters. We all want to get up and push towards some kind of dream. But somewhere along the way, we kind of give up on that. And the world kind of beats it out of us. And we get kind of discouraged and we move. And so I want you to think of these three states. I'm rejuvenated, which means I'm fresh, alive, dynamic. I'm mechanical. Mechanical means I'm tired, frustrated, agitated, irritated. And then there's burnout. I've lost all joy or passion. And I'm just going through the motion. I'm alive, but I'm dead. At some point in your life, we've all been in all three of those states, haven't we? Okay? We've all been on all three of those states. And so what we have to do is we've got to step back and we've got to see a bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, how do I take my talent and distribute my talent through my work? See, I see work as the distribution channel for your talent. You may see it as a job. And you may say, well, I get paid to do work. That is true. Money only changes hands when problems are solved. Okay? Money only changes hands when problems are solved. And y'all solve a big problem for people, don't you? What you do every day for a living solves a big problem for people. Because people got to have a few things in life, don't they? And one of them is what you got. If I was in any business in the world, I told you don't need a sales team when you sell electricity. Do you? I'm like, that's the best business in the world to be in. People got to have it, right? People don't have to have coaching. They got to have electricity. They got to have water. They got to have food. You follow me here? They got to have oxygen. You're in a very, very important business. And so you can wake up and see your work. Now, I want you to think about this. You can have an adversarial relationship with your work, which is what a lot of people do. Some studies in the United States say up to 70% of people in the United States are disengaged with their work. Why do you think that is? Why are people so disengaged with their work? Why do they have such an adversarial relationship with their work? What do you think? This is the audience participation part. Why do you think people have such an adversarial relationship with their work?
Day in, day out.
Day in, it never stops, constant grind, right? We got the Sunday night dredge. You know, Dave Ramsey started his radio show on Sunday nights, and he had to take it off Sunday nights because Sunday nights was the highest rate of suicide in the country. People did not want to go into the week, many times because of financial reasons, right? The most heart attacks that happen in this country, you know when they happen? Monday morning between 6 and 9 a.m. Some people would rather die than go to work.
I went to the emergency room on a Sunday night, and they said that's the busiest night because people don't want to go to work. They'll show up to get an excuse.
The least amount of heart attacks happen Friday afternoon between 4 and 6. Somebody said happy hour, right? Thank God it's Friday. What I've studied over the last 10 years is why do people have such an adversarial relationship with their work? See, I see work as the distribution channel for your talent. Your talent solves somebody's problem. Does that make sense? Your ability solves somebody's problem. And when you distribute your ability through your work, then the world rewards you. Now you say the only way I get rewarded is in money, but that's not true. How else do you get paid?
Insurance and benefits.
Insurance and benefits. Money. So think this. That's one way. How else do you get paid though?
Satisfaction.
Personal satisfaction. Is it not true that you don't need a manager to tell you if you had a good day today or not? You know, don't you? See, when I get done at the end of the day, I don't need another person to tell me whether I had a good day or not. I know if I pushed hard enough. I know if I left it all out on the field. I know if I helped enough people. I know if I reached my potential. You don't know if I reached my potential or not, but I do. So I want you to think about this. You get paid in money, but this is man-made.
It goes away.
To $20, for one person it means one thing, for another person it means something else. This is man-made. It's just run through a cotton gin, created.
You don't want it.
Okay? I didn't say I didn't want it. I just said it's just money. Right?
You motivate.
Money does motivate some people, though, doesn't it? But most of the big time players that I've coached, money don't do it for them. Money's a byproduct of the value they create and the problems they solve. But it ain't the number one driver for them. Most of them spend a lot of their money giving it away when they get to the big levels. Carnegie, Rockefeller, they spent the first part of their life making money, and the whole second part getting in a competition of who could give away most of it. Who could win giving away the most money? You look at what Gates, Buffett, all these people doing. They make it and then they give away. What really gets you going is you also get paid in love, affirmation, appreciation. How many of you have done a job and really helped a person and you knew, man, I just got paid because they really appreciate that. So when you think about this, I want you to think about work in a little bit different way. Not an adversarial relationship with your work where you got Sunday night stress, Friday day. You see what I'm saying? You're just making it. You're just living to make it through the week. I want you to start looking at your work as a distribution channel for your talent. And when you do that, you help people and you get paid in other ways besides money. You get paid in love, appreciation, affirmation, referrals. Now, after I went back, after I got through this coaching and I built a successful coaching practice and we sold enough books, I went back to my hometown and I bought a building. And I said, I'm going to go back and offer something because they don't have anything for kids. They don't have any place to work out. They don't have a lot of good places to do this. So I went back and I bought a building. And I called it the Greatness Factory. And I spent my own money to do it. And I was going through this process. And the contractor, the subcontractor, kept going longer than it was supposed to. And the subcontractor would always complain to me. It's taking longer, it's taking a lot of my time, it ain't working out the way we're supposed to do. And I never could get him motivated to finish the job. You see what I'm saying? Until one day I finally said, the way you see your work is all wrong, man. the way you see your work is all wrong. I said, we're trying to do something big in my hometown. And I can't do it without you. And the faster you get that building done, the faster we can help other people. Kids can be playing in that building, and people can work out in that building. But we can't do it until you stop complaining and get it done. And you know what he said to me? Coach, I've never had a person frame it like that. I just thought it was just another job. And I said, when you get that building done, you're going to be part of us helping a lot of people in our hometown. But I can't do it without you, man. You see, the way you see your work is all wrong. Okay? So I want you to think of this. We don't have any classes in school in finding our talents, do we? I want you to think of a talent as I take something real complicated and I make it simple. A talent is I can diffuse real tense situations with humor. A talent is I can connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. A talent is I can coach. Because when you're leading other people, here's the deal. If they don't buy into you, they're not going to buy into methodology, right or wrong. So the first person that's got to be motivated and sold has got to be who? You. So if you're my manager, and you're my leader, and I detect for 1 second that you don't want to be here, by your body language, by your phraseology, what do you think that gives me permission to do? If I work with you every day, and I detect for 1 second that you have an adversarial relationship with your work, does it not give me permission to check out on that work too? Right or wrong? And I had a 14-year-old kid. Their mom and dad brought her to me and asked me to coach their kid. And I'm coaching this 14-year-old on her confidence. And she played for a school here in town. And she says this to me, I'll never forget it. She said, Coach, I appreciate all this work you're doing with me. But she said, but why should I care if we win or lose if my coach don't even care? And I said, now what do you mean? She said, Coach, my coach is checked out. Shows up late, leaves early, don't stick around, has a negative attitude. This is a 14-year-old. And she said, I appreciate you coaching me, but I think you need to be coaching my coach. So when you're leading other people, like I look at my shop, if I'm not the most motivated person in my shop, I feel like I'm giving them permission to check out. So I want to exert so much energy to my people that they know, A, this guy practices what he preaches. He follows through on what he says. Because I'm trying to get my own employees to a much better state. Does that make sense? I'm not just trying to get my customers to a much better state. I made up my mind that I was going to get all my employees to a much better state. Now I want you to remember this. Content cows give more milk. They tell us a cow that has a name produces 6% more milk. And I talk a lot about feeding the sheep. And what I mean by that is, how do I keep the people on my team in an engaged state where they are motivated and on fire? Well, isn't part of it the way I come to the table? Yes or no? So my first role is to get myself to a much higher level and then feed that into those people. Now, let me tell you where they need it. Everything I do, I look at the body, the mind, the heart, the spirit, is they need. How many of you have people that work under you right now? Everybody in the room, right? They're all managers. And you do understand the difference between a supervisor, a manager, a leader, and a coach. Are those different roles? Couldn't they be different roles? How many of you know somebody that was a great coach but a lousy manager? I've seen it before. They're good at managing process, systems, but they're lousy with people. How many of you know people that were a great coach, but maybe a lousy leader? I see that happen too. See, I put these in different buckets. Okay? In the old days, supervision was, I'm a supervisor. And a supervisor could be, I show up and make sure nobody hurts themselves and nobody hurts each other. Is that an important role too? Yes or no? In your business? Of course it is. So at the very basic level, I make sure nobody hurts themselves and nobody hurts each other. Then I move to a manager, and a manager is compensated to solve problems and make decisions. What if you're not good at solving problems, you're not good at making decisions? Can you be a good manager? That's what a manager's hired to do, right? Then you move to a coach. And I want you to think of a coach as a person that engages a person in a set of systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they cannot do today. Now, why don't more managers become coaches? Why don't more managers become coaches? Because here's what I hear a lot of managers say. Oh man, I'm just babysitting a bunch of kids. Just like babysitting a bunch of kids. Well, and some of them are kids, aren't they? How does that kid grow up? What if they don't have somebody in their life pushing them, challenging them, holding accountable? Right? So I want you to think of it like this. When you move to a coach, now you're moving to a whole nother level of a manager. And what you're doing is you're engaging them in a set of systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they can't do today. And I want you to think of a coach like this. Hey, I'm going to teach you something this week. And then we'll come back and teach you something next week. And then we'll come back and teach you something next week. And then we'll come back and teach you something next week. And when I'm done with you, you're going to be at a much higher level. Everybody see that? Why don't most people do that? Because I see very few managers that become great coaches. And I've never heard a person say, I'd run through the wall for my manager. But I have heard people say I would run through the wall for my what? Coach. First thing we get on the bus this morning, I'm challenging my operations director. I'm challenging her. Hey, I think you got more in the tank than what you're showing. I think you can push harder than what you're pushing. She pushes back. Do you meet a lot of objections when you're pushing people? Yes or no? Well, coach, I don't know if I can do it. Yes, you can. I believe in you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to push you, challenge you. See, I want that woman, when she's done work for me, going, man, that did change my whole life. I don't want her saying, well, I had this lousy manager or this boss that didn't care about me as a person. So you know where I'm challenging her? Knowledge, skill, desire, confidence. How many of you got somebody on your team right now that needs more knowledge? Where do they get it from? If they don't get it from you. You think they're reading books or going to self-help seminars when they go home? Average American reads less than one book a year. Here's the truth. They bought this book for you. Probably only one or two people read it. If you don't read it, give it back to them. I'll resell it to somebody. But my point is the average American reads less than one book a year. How do you get smarter if you're not reading? See, a lot of people say, I don't like reading, I never like reading. Now you can listen to it on audio. You can watch YouTube videos, right? I tell some people, I'll come to your house and read it to you for the right amount. But the first thing is this. Have you reached some level of demonstrating capacity in your business? Yes or no? You being in this room means what? You've already reached a pretty high level. Yes or no? You know why you reached that level? Because there's 4 things you got that somebody else don't have. Knowledge, skill, desire, and confidence. You would not be sitting in this room. Now, here's my challenge. Let's say I work for you and I'm hungry. And I show up hungry, but you never feed me. I don't get any of that knowledge and any of that skill and any of that. You just kind of bark orders at me and I go do it, like I can't grow. You understand what I'm saying? So I want you to think about this. On average, I spent 5.5 hours a day with my players when I was a coach at Riverdale. 5.5 hours a day. Almost 1,200 hours over the course of 4 years. You know what I was pouring into them every day? All of my knowledge, all of my skill, all of my desire, and all of my confidence. 5.5 hours. Like taking an IV out of me and putting it into them. Because the more I could get them to perform like I thought, the more we won. Make sense? My employees, I pour into every day because I want to get it so they can do it without me. I'm going to coach you so a year from today, you don't need me to do this. I grow you up. So when I poll employees, you probably get the same thing. I ask them, what's the number one thing you want from your manager? What do they tell me? Time. I want more time with my manager. But that's not really what they want. What they really want is some of what you got. They just don't know how to say it. So if I spend time with Matt, what I need Matt to do is take all these years of experience, pour it into me. And what she's really trying to do, a good coach will do, is speed up my learning curve. So he teaches me something this week, he teaches me something next week, he teaches me something next week, and the next thing you know, I'm playing at a much higher level than when I showed up. Everybody follow me here? But what if Matt says, I don't want to coach anybody? Now let's go back to my question. What's the number one reason people don't want to coach other people? Because it takes what? Time. And it takes energy. So I just say, just show up, batteries included. If you need anything from me, email me. Because I ain't coaching anybody. Just do it. And then you can't figure out why they won't fight for you. See, they won't fight for you because you haven't sown into them in such a way that they go, I would run through the wall for that man. The way he pours into me every week, he's not just some manager at Middle Tennessee Electric. That man's a mentor to me. That man took me from a little nobody that didn't know anything to a man. You understand what I'm saying? You see how much harder people fight for you? So here's what I figured out when I was coaching. My players were the geese laying the golden eggs. Who's your geese? The lineman. Right or wrong? The more you pour into them, the more they produce golden eggs. You know the story of Aesop, don't you? He got greedy. Killed the very thing that was, right? So let's look at old school, new school. Old school coaches would just yell and cuss and throw things and kick things, and I would motivate you through fear. And that was me from 20 to 25. I did all that. Yelled, cussed, threw things, kicked things, and I didn't win any championships. Around 25, I go, man, there was always an adversarial relationship between me and the player. Always. There's always me versus you. You resisting me, me pushing you. And you hated it, and I didn't like you, and you didn't like me, and that's how most coaches coach. The ones that don't win. And then I figured out at 25, how do I get more out of this kid? I don't have to cuss them to get more out of them. I don't have to scream at them or throw things or kick things. What if I just spent time with them? And what if I invested in them? And what if I coached them? And what if I believed in them? So I started all these things, and there's a lot of takeaways for you, is every day at the end of the day I take a walk with one of my players down to the football stadium. 5 or 10 minutes, I say, hey, let's take a walk. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your home. Tell me about your family. Tell me about what you're scared of in the world. Tell me about what I can do better to help be a better coach for you. You'd be shocked how that one conversation changed our whole relationship. And every day I pick a different player. Let's take a walk. And if I ever fed them ice cream, they tell me everything. But I would say, just tell me how I can be better for you. And when I made that shift at 25, till I started coaching the whole person, their knowledge, their skill, their desire, their confidence, when I started treating them the right way versus the wrong way, you would be shocked at how hard they played for me. And their mamas and daddies would come to me and go, my God, and my daughter would run through anything for you. What are you doing? I said, I'm just sewing into them. I'm spending 5.5 hours with them a day. And I'd say, how much time do you spend with her? And they'd say, well, I get 30 minutes with her, or 15 minutes. And I said, I got more influence over your daughter than you do right now. And the better I got at being a great coach, the more we won. You understand what I'm saying? And then I got into the business world and I started coaching people, and managers would say, the way they talked about their players, bunch of sorry workers, lazy, no good workers, they won't do anything I tell them to do. They need to get on my level. Why can't they grow up? Sorry generation, millennials suck. I mean, I hear all that. Right or wrong? And I'm sitting there going, here's $1 million question. Would you want to play for you? Because I was sitting on the back of my patio one night with the men's coach. We were roommates. And he had lost and I lost. And we were sitting there drinking a fifth of Maker's Mark. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I wouldn't even be excited about playing for me. And he said, I wouldn't want to play for me either. That's a turning point for us. Because if you wouldn't get excited about coming to work for you on Monday morning, for you, how you are right now, something needs to give, right? And you can say it's them, and it may be them. They may be lazy, and they may be millennial, and they may not have work ethic. But in my opinion, that's what a good coach comes in and does, is you show them all of the things they never learned. You with me? I never learned how to fix a car because my dad wasn't involved in my life early. So all the things a dad teaches his son, I never learned. Never went fishing, never went hunting, never learned how to fix a car, never learned because it was just my mom. And there were some things Mama just couldn't give me. You with me? And I missed that. So I didn't have a person in my life to teach me those things. So you know where I got that? You know who filled that gap for me? My coaches. The men coaches in my life filled that gap. And they grew me up from a little boy to a man, and they taught me things that I needed to know. And thank God for those people. And they're not blood. They're not blood. They were just people that took an interest in me. So if I can leave you with something today, I do believe what I wrote on the cover of this book. I do believe everybody needs a good coach in life. And I don't think it has to be an athletic coach, and I don't think you have to have 30 years in coaching to be a great coach. I think you got to shift your mind from a supervisor. It's so funny, my stepfather works at the other electric company in town. And he's over all the linemen. He's the number one guy over everybody. And he's been there for years, and he's tough, man. I mean, he's tough. And he comes to me sometimes now that he's in this new role managing everybody. He's like, man, you got any tips and strategies for me? You know? And I say, they're the geese laying the golden eggs, man. The better your relationship is with those linemen, the harder they're going to work for you. And that may mean you changing just a little bit. People are not as tough today as they used to be. Would you agree with that? I couldn't go back and coach today the way I did 10 years ago. I was too tough. I had players at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 on Saturday. I couldn't go back and be that tough today. Because you know why? They couldn't handle it. I'd probably be in lawsuits. You know, you work my kid too hard and I'm going to sue you. So what I'm telling you is our generation is changing. They're not as tough as they used to be. Just because you're tough don't mean they're that tough. You follow me? My employees are not as tough as I am. I can't push them the way somebody could push me. And I got to understand that. So at the end of the day, let me close with this. When you think about this title, everybody needs a coach in life, I want you to make a shift in your mind from supervisor to manager to I'm going to become a great coach. And if you don't have anything to tell them, read the book and take exactly what I say in there and steal it and give it to them. Give them a little lesson a day, talk to them, and start to grow them up. Because at the end of the day, probably get 40, most of you guys are 40 and above in here. You know what happens at 40? You start thinking about your legacy, don't you? I'm less interested in recognition today than I've ever been in my life. I'm more interested in impact. How many people can I help on planet Earth while I'm here? That's what drives me. Okay? And it first starts with my own employees, not my customers. It first starts with my own employees. So take this role of being a great coach serious, guys. And if you have kids, do you believe who's coaching your kids is more important than who the President of the United States is? It is. You know how much influence those coaches have over your kids? One of the worst things in the world was kids playing from the time they're 4, 5, and 6 years old, and then showing up to me at Riverdale with very little knowledge, very little skill, very little desire, very little confidence, and I had to cut them. And you know how hard it is to tell a mom and daddy that your daughter's not good enough to play for me? And the mom and daddy say, but she's been playing from the time she was 4 years old. And I said the same thing. She's been playing for all the wrong coaches. Just because she was playing doesn't mean she's playing for the right person, because they didn't teach her what she needed to know to play at this level. You follow me here? And it happened every year. So I would say who's coaching your kids is critical to their future success. Right? You can't just throw them out there and let anybody coach them. You got to have people that are trained and know what they're doing. So if you got kids, I want you to start having these conversations every night. I thought I brought my notebook. Yeah. Every night I map out my days for the next day. This is my day for today. So it shows you what time I got up, 5 a.m., shows you what time I finished the day, shows you every appointment I've got, shows you my targets for the day, my goals for the day, my high value activity. Now let me tell you something funny. I sit down every night with my 4-year-old and she maps out her days. So I say, sweetheart, get your notebook and let's draw up your goals for tomorrow. Wouldn't it be great to be my daughter? And I'm like, get your notepad and let's go. And you know what? My daughter will get her notepad every night, sit down right beside me, pull out a pen, and start working on her goals. And I'll say, what are your goals for tomorrow? And she'll say, be obedient, listen to mom and daddy, be a good listener, and be able to watch Strawberry Shortcake when I get home. Here's what I love about my kid, man. When she's not good at school, she tells me. I say, well, you're a good girl today? No, Daddy, I wasn't a good kid today. So you can't watch Strawberry Shortcake tonight, can you? No. At least you've been honest, right? If I can get a 4-year-old to do that, map out her days, get in a forward posture, get in offensive mobility, do you think we could do it with an adult? And last night I flew in late from Florida, and you know, first thing my daughter says to me, Daddy, we got to do our goals before we go to bed. 4 years old. You understand what I'm saying? We gotta do our goals. So don't ever think, well, she's too young, or I'm gonna turn it over to the school system to teach my kids, and they'll be okay. At some point, we gotta say, hey, I gotta embed this into you, right or wrong. Guys, I appreciate you letting me come today. I hope this is valuable to you, okay? I know what you do every day is tough. Trust me. Like I said, I got a stepfather that does it. And I know how tired he is when he gets home. I know how exhaustive it can be. I know getting called at all hours of the day. I know what it's like to be on call. I know what it's like to have to show up and be ready to go. I know that you're managing people now that are younger and less trained and less tough. I get it. I fully do understand what you're going through every day. I don't do it every day, but I can see it through my stepfather's eyes. And I see what kind of stress that taxes on his life and on his body. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? But it's got to be about more than the money. It's got to be about something bigger. And something bigger is I take a group of kids and I turn them into men because I'm their coach. And that's part of my legacy here. Okay? Does anybody have any questions for me on anything? Coaching, life, success, failure, screw-ups.
Have you seen any that wasn't able to be coached?
Absolutely.
Then what do you do?
Well, here's what I would tell you. Here's what I would tell you. I hear a lot of people say, well, that person's not coachable, okay? And for some people, there's two things that I think are going on. One is they truly are not coachable. They're stubborn, prideful, arrogant. You see what I'm saying? They most likely not have enough failure in their life. At some point they will, and they'll become humble, right? So what do I do with that person? I tell people this: as long as you remain coachable, I'm going to pour into you. I will fight for you every day. I will spend time and energy with you every day. You see what I'm saying? I'll pour into you. But if I don't think you're going to be in a humble state for me to give you anything, what am I supposed to do with you? I'm going to try to coach you, but if you won't let me, what am I supposed to do with you? Some people, it's because they don't understand what a coach can do in their life. Like you're trying to coach them, but they've never been exposed to a coach in their life. A lot of adults have never had a good coach. So it's like, I don't understand what this relationship's supposed to be like. They just don't know. Maybe they're tough-minded. So I say, are you humble? Are you hungry, humble, and coachable? And if you are, I'm going to give you everything I got. But if not, I just can't spend all my time on somebody that just don't, right? A lot of companies are going to where they're not hiring people unless they're coachable. They're saying, look, we're going to grow and get better here. And if you don't want to grow and get better, there's probably a company you need to work at. I tell my employees up front, if you're going to get your feelings hurt every time I challenge you, or you're going to be defensive about everything, or you can't handle any type of constructive criticism, you don't need to work with me. But if you are seriously interested in your potential, I'm the guy for you, because I will push you like nobody's ever pushed you. But occasionally I come across a person that just, they could be intimidated. A lot of people are intimidated by learning. It's like you're going to expose something in them. So they know they're weak, and so they put up an insecurity. They put up a front because they're insecure. And they try to keep you at a distance because they're afraid you'll expose some weakness in them, right? When I come in to coach a company, a lot of people get nervous because they're afraid I'm gonna expose some kind of weakness that they have by shining a light on it. And here's what I tell you: all the professionals have coaches. Every major person in the world has a coach. Okay? Amateurs think they coach themselves. So that's what I would tell you. I'd still go to work on being a better coach. And some people, it's taken me a while to crack the code with them, but I crack it. You with me? A lot of times I get resistance up front. And then I keep chipping away. And finally they go, I kind of like this dude. He pushes me, but he's positive. Okay? That's a great question. Other questions? Has this been valuable for you today? Here's the deal. You need fed. Even the motivator needs motivated from time to time, don't he? Your battery burns out just like everybody else's does. So the reason we did this today was to feed into you and help you reframe and see a little bit bigger picture. You turn around and feed your team, but you need to get fed. So if you travel with me and see my daily schedule, like this morning I was up at 5, I was in the gym at 5:30 for 40 minutes with a trainer. You can see what I'm listening to. I'm always listening to things. I'm always adding things. I'm constantly reading. I've got people coaching me, and the reason is I get tired, and I get fatigued. And I need the energy. And at the end of the day, I want to have some energy for my 4-year-old tonight when I get home. And if I pour it all into you, I ain't got anything for her. Okay? And that ain't fair to her. I can't give her crumbs. I can't give you my best and give her leftovers. You follow me? So I'm big into energy management, and you should be big in energy management too, by how you sleep, how you eat, how you handle your body. Because a big failure for me is I get home tonight and my daughter wants to play with me and I don't have any energy to do it. To me, I don't care how many people I helped today, I failed. I don't care how much money I made. That's a failure to me. I want to give my daughter 1 hour of high impact energy every night, and if I can't give it to her, then something went wrong today. You with me? So when I'm with my trainer, you know what I'm telling him? I need more energy. I need more vitality. I need more go. I need more juice. You know what he always tells me? I can work you out, coach, but what do you got to do? You got to eat right, and you got to fuel your body throughout the day. So when you get home at night, your energy is not depleted, it's replenished. Make sense? That's a personal goal for myself, okay? All right, guys, thank you for having me today. God bless. Keep doing it. Keep doing. Hey, I spoke to a group earlier, and I said, I'm going over to the electric department. I'm going to give them some energy. Wasn't that funny? I said that. Okay, good. All right. Thank you, guys. God bless you.